Hey, it's TCSN Live. We've been out for a couple months, but we're back for another quick season. And we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Adam Prine. I'm from Oregon. Pass it on.
Josh. I'm Erica Graham. I'm from New York.
There we go.
I'm Jocelyn Weber. I'm from Key West, Florida.
And Josh. Josh? We lost Josh. Okay. That's Josh from New York. And we're going to get him right back on here.
We're going to try.
Yeah, we're going to try. We've been having some technical difficulties. We used the Be Live TV app, and I just turned it on today, and it was totally renewed. They redid it. So I don't know where anything is. It looks like it's going to be really a lot nicer and easier to use. It looks super cool, but everything's in different spots. So it's going to take me a minute here to get used to that.
Hopefully.
And I don't know what happened to Josh all of a sudden. All right, so we're gonna talk about. I want to see if we can get Josh back on.
Yeah, try to get him back on.
Okay. We're going to talk about the impeachment, and we're going to talk about the presidential elections. He is going to join us. Well, we can start it with impeachment. So I don't know everything about the impeachment. I was listening to 60 Minutes today, and I also did a little bit of research. And I know that what's happening is President Trump supposedly called the president of Ukraine, who is Volodymyr Zelensky. Sounds like Voldemort, but it's like Volodymyr Zelensky. So I looked into him. Go ahead. What did you say?
That I've been calling him President Z.
President Z. What do you think about him?
What do I think of President Z? I mean, I don't know much about the guy. I know what's been on with the whistleblower story though, and how they've been trying to spin it or failing to spin it, as it were. So what happened was basically Trump called the president of Ukraine. He cut off he cut off $400 million worth of aid to Ukraine, and then either President Z either called Trump or Trump called President Z, but they shared a phone call in which a desperate Pres Z asked Trump basically to continue the aid, saying that, President Trump said, sorry.
Is that right? Go ahead.
Have we got, okay. So Trump says to the president, all right, so we've been doing a lot of stuff for you. We've been giving you a lot of aid, but you haven't reciprocated. We'd like you to investigate Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and all that stuff that's been going on over there. And President Z, who's desperate to get aid back to Ukraine, which was some kind of arms deal, says, yes, sir, we'll do whatever you say, sir. Please call us more, sir. He's really sucking it up big time because he really needs this money, whatever, call it patriotic if you want to. And then Trump goes at the end of the conversation, all right, I predict your economy will be doing much better now. And so first of all, to solicit aid at all from a foreign government is illegal. It's what he was investigated for with Russiagate, except that they didn't have enough evidence to prove that Trump was involved or that he was really asking for aid. Even though he announced on live TV, there was some kind of gray area that people were able to find to make it so that it would be hard to impeach him on that. But this is just blatantly Trump it's as if Trump went to Putin and said, give me the emails directly on a phone call, and if he was the president. So there's just no gray area. And then after that, he took the phone call, the recording of the phone call, or the transcript, and he hid it in a private server, abusing the powers of security granted to him as president. And it turns out.
Well, one thing is he didn't do. What I heard was somebody else did that, not Trump. Like one of his staff members.
Yes. Somebody I mean, I don't think Trump knows how to use a computer.
Right.
Exactly. Or he doesn't even really know how to use Twitter, so.
And then the other thing I wonder is, I want to backtrack a little bit here. So, and then we'll talk about Biden and stuff, but I want to talk about the Baltimore Zelensky guy. So I'm pretty amazed about what I learned about him. He rose out of presidency. He's never been in politics in his life. He's a total populist. They elected him just like Trump was elected, or Bernie would be elected. Oh no, Bernie's been in politics his whole life. This guy used to be on a TV program. He was actually, this is crazy. He was on a sitcom. And the sitcom was called Servant to the People. And he was playing the role of a man who rose up and became president.
Huh. I think I heard about that on the news today. I was listening to NPR. I think I heard
it sounds to me. Now, half the country thinks he's a populist and they all say he's going to be great. And the other half of the country says he's working for the oligarchy. And the owner of that news station and him have a conspiracy together. I'm like, that rings a bell. It sounds like Trump and Fox News over here.
I was going to say.
What the hell? They got the same thing going on. The only difference is I was tending to believe this guy looks to be a little bit nicer and more of a people person. I've only learned about him today, though. But he didn't seem like he was bad. Now, I saw an interview of Trump and him on Fox News.
Nice for, however long it takes to be on TV. That's what politicians are good at, is being nice to people when they have to be.
Right. That's true. I don't know for him from anything. So who knows? But when I saw him on TV, he looked very nervous. He was begging, and he is begging. His country is about to be steamrolled over by Russia. So he needs those weapons. And he did say something. He said, Obama, I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Trump and him on Fox News, but he says, Obama didn't help us, but you did. You will. Trump's playing this.
You want to know what the funniest thing I think of all this is, right? Is the White House released the transcript themselves, right? Trump said this is a beautiful conversation. We had a great conversation. I loved it. President Zelensky just loves me, and you know why? Is because President Zelensky was desperate. And
his country needs help.
He said something along the lines of, so that the conversation opened up, right, with Donald Trump saying, so I heard that you just won your election and you were quite an underdog. You came out of nowhere, which, is what you were talking about, right? And President Zelensky, I kid you not, says, yeah, we took our cues from you, Mr. Trump. We're very inspired by you. And you know what? That's the reason Trump released this transcript, even though it was incriminating. He doesn't think of it as a beautiful conversation in which the president of this other country just told everybody how much he loves me. He got sucking up and he thought it was real. And he was like, yeah, tell the whole world.
Tell the whole world. That's how concerned he is with his ratings and
that is pretty.
He doesn't even realize.
You can tell. You can just hear the sucking up dripping out of Zelensky's text.
He's desperate. I felt bad for the guy. I did. When I saw him, I was like, and why aren't we helping Ukraine? Do you know, Josh? Why didn't Obama help Ukraine?
All right. Well, okay. So I just actually want to touch on that. I mean, that's a good question, but I actually wanted to touch on a few things that you guys had said. I'm actually opposed to the impeachment of Donald Trump. Let me explain why a little bit. Well, first of all, I don't think it's the issue itself is quite substantive enough. If they were trying to impeach Trump on the emoluments clause, violating campaign finance or something more substantive of that nature, I think that I would be far more understanding to impeachment. But as now, I think it's a way for the establishment Democrats to essentially attack Trump without having to attack him on policy substance. And I mean, the 106-16 treaty, I believe, actually says that the United States and Ukraine can work together on criminal matters together on that. And I think
it seemed that bad.
I think the Biden thing, the corruption around the Biden thing with Ukraine is arguably worse than what even Trump did. And do I agree with Trump asking the Ukraine for dirt on his political enemies? No, I don't agree with that. But at the same time, the dirt is there. I mean, in the same way that what Russia did was that arguably, what Russia allegedly did, was that arguably bad? Yes, but the information we learned from it was far worse. So I don't think that Trump should be in. I think that you should spend your. There's a lot of bad. I'm not a fan of Trump at all. He's a right-wing fascist, and I think that you should put your political capital, and I think you should put your time into the election that's like, what, 20 minutes away, where you get a principled populist left progressive like Bernie Sanders on the ticket, and you win in a landslide, and you get Trump out of office that way.
Okay, then what would you say?
But can I just finish my thought really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the impeachment process will only help Trump, as it will. It'll essentially, what it'll do is it'll give Trump a boost in popularity. So what you'll get is the establishment Democrats attacking Donald Trump and pushing this impeachment process, and it will 100% fail in the Republican-filled Senate. And because they're narrowing it down to this one thing of Ukraine. Asking the Ukraine for dirt on Joe Biden, your political enemy. That's arguably, it's bad, but it's arguably not even illegal. So it might not make it through. And so what I think is actually going to happen, what will ultimately happen, is Donald Trump will not be impeached because it won't get through the Senate. And when that happens, you're not going to get apolitical and undecided people to essentially, be watching every moment of the impeachment proceedings. What you're going to get is the sound bites and the headlines, and they're going to have, and the media is going to be forced to write the headlines, Donald Trump impeachment fails. And the people are going to read that and go, oh, I guess he was innocent. And they're going to hear the sound bites of Donald Trump saying something along the lines of like, oh, the Democratic Party, baseless, he's going to use his famous witch hunt thing as he did during the Russiagate. And I think it's going to boost his popularity and help him win re-election in 2020.
I agree.
Okay. What do you do? Jocelyn, you want to answer that? Should say something to that?
Well, okay. So, there was a lot of points that we'd have to touch on. So I'm going to start with, I think you mentioned that it's arguably not illegal.
Based on that treaty, I don't think it might be.
Well, when it comes down to it, I mean, and even the people on Fox News are admitting that it's illegal. They're trying to say quid pro quo this or that. There doesn't need to be the extortion.
But the people on Fox News, I mean, okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
But dirt on Joe Biden is like Hillary Clinton's emails. You can't. It's considered a campaign finance contribution. And the argument that's been going around that I've seen, actually, to your point, is that it wasn't something of value. Like, can we really say that Ukraine is giving us something of value? I would say yes. Of course, it's valuable. It would help him win re-election to be able to smear Joe Biden, just like he did with Hillary Clinton, just like he'll try to do with any opponent that he comes across, right? And in fact, we actually know exactly how valuable it is to Trump. We know it's worth at least $400 million because that's the amount of aid that he cut off to Ukraine in order to get this information.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which Joe Biden also advocated to cut aid to Ukraine when the prosecutor was going to reveal the corruption within his family.
I'm not sure all of what happened with Joe Biden, but I'm not. It does not surprise me at all. I mean, we know these politicians are corrupt. We know that they do these things. It doesn't. Of all cases for the news to really focus on, this is probably one of the worst for the Democratic establishment that did want to push Joe Biden and those conservative fiscal policies.
So I guess my question would ultimately be like, why now and why Trump? Why on this issue? Why not on something like violating the campaign finance laws? Why, instead of an actual substantive issue, do you not go after Donald Trump why not also go after Barack? And this isn't a whataboutism or an attempt to deflect of the issue, but I'm doing it to demonstrate and shine a light on why exactly this is happening. So why not on Obama? Why not when Obama killed a 16-year-old U.S. citizen abroad without fair trial or due process? Why not when, Obama? I'm sorry.
Now we are getting to whataboutism.
No. Let me finish my point. I promise you, it's not really a whataboutism as it is as much about why not them, because, and I'm sorry, I just lost my train. I just Joe Biden for a second.
No, that's okay. You did good. Let her have a comeback.
I'll let her have it, and then I'll finish my
Yeah.
thought. Yeah, because I just remembered.
What do you?
Oh well, so what I was saying is that this is a violation of campaign finance contribution because of the value of dirt on a political opponent, and in fact, if you use the presidential position to get it, this is what is considered a violation of campaign finance. And you know, you can say, why didn't Obama get targeted for it? Well, Obama wasn't blatantly going on a phone call.
With that factor, I don't think we should say that. I don't think we should bring up what about Obama.
Well,
it's what about.
I don't, you know,
I
here is the biggest fan.
But Mike, okay, so
it's I'm
going to say something. I think Jocelyn is right. I think Jocelyn is right with it being illegal, and I think he did break a law. And I do think there's one difference. I think it's kind of a crazy. I think it's almost whacked, like to where I'm like, is this for real? That now we're looking at the president called the Ukraine president to ask for dirt about the old president and vice president and his son in Ukraine. Like he's literally committing the same crime that he called about Joe Biden. So now when they go into this thing, it's like they've got both of them and they can all use whataboutism. And that's all this is going to be.
I get it. But I know whether or not it's illegal, and I would look further into that. But the thing is about the reason why I brought up Barack Obama and the NSA spying program or his criminal acts, which are impeachable, killing U.S. citizens and torture and all of these things that Obama and Bush did. Yeah,
go all the way back to
and Noam Chomsky even said if the Nuremberg laws were in place, that every post-war president would have been hanged. But that's not. I'm not bringing them up specifically to say, well, what about them? I'm bringing them up to show like the reason why they didn't get it and Donald Trump did is because the establishment Democrats needed a reason needed something to attack Donald Trump on that wasn't an policy-based issue. And I think that leading up to the 2020 election, and it will help him get reelected.
So that's what so now I'm wondering, now if it's illegal, if it's not, like
I think it's a distraction.
You are correct. Nobody knows for sure right now. And we won't know until the whole thing's done. But even if it is, impeachment doesn't mean you get kicked out, right?
Exactly. That's the good point too.
And he ran for a bunch of years after that and did tons of things.
Yeah. The only other presidents to really get like the impeachment, like I think Richard Nixon, there was Bill Clinton, there was Andrew Johnson. So, you have these people who were impeached, who never really, Richard Nixon left not because of the impeachment, but from what I believe, it was, he left, he resigned himself,
Well, yeah.
But, and then, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton's impeachment, they didn't succeed thoroughly. But the point, I think, is that this is proven to be a distraction because the establishment Democrats, it's party tribalism. They're doing it against Donald Trump, but they didn't do it against Obama. And I don't think they're doing it even on substance. It's a more honed in issue instead of actually, I think more serious crimes that Trump has committed, that I think if you wanted to get an attack out him there that was that was more substantively related.
Okay, so now with the timing is an issue. What do you think, Jocelyn, what do you think about the fact that the mainstream media waves are going to be dominated for the next year with impeachment? And we got the 2020 elections. They should be dominated with the Green
Medicare for all,
and with this marching for climate and the for 2020, but we're not going to hear any of that. We're going to get impeached.
I will say this. We know that a lot of Joe Biden voters, or at least I would suspect a lot of Joe Biden voters, are low information voters.
Absolutely, no disagreement.
And you have to think. Okay, so you have to think of it. I would still for marketing, so this is what I think about all the time is what's the most watched news network? And it's not CNN, it's not MSNBC who are going to be defending Joe Biden. It's going to be Fox News. And the Fox News watchers, the people who put it on every day and just have it running in the background, you hear about these things. Joe Biden's name is going to get out and is not going to. And those voters are not going to want to come out and vote for him. Negative campaigns and attack ads only suppress voter turnout. And if Joe Biden's voters fail to turn out, or if they decide that they don't want anything to do with nonsense and go to someone else, we all know who their second choice, usually is, you know?
So
You haven't even heard of Elizabeth Warren, you know?
right. Okay. So that's what brings great segue. What if this is the end of Joe? His time is up, like it is now. No,
and I agree with Jocelyn.
Joe's done, dude. There's no way they're going to be backing Joe anymore.
I think that this impeachment couldn't have come at a better time for that because he's not the nominee. Thank God. Like, imagine if this was going on after we had already gotten
the primary.
him, you know?
Right. Well, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are probably sitting there like, yeah.
I know. I'm stoked about
Look at this. They're both going down.
Oh, I watched SNL the other night, but there's like a meme of Kamala Harris going, "Oh no, not Joe Biden, no."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's through too, though. I don't think she can make a comeback. I think it's going to be. I think we got a huge battle with Warren and Elizabeth.
I don't personally think you need the impeachment to take down Joe Biden. I think he's doing that pretty well on his own. But I will say you are 100% right on.
His numbers have remained consistent.
They've been dropping. They've been dropping significantly in the last several polls.
And we got to always remember they're polling. They've already admitted almost all those polls are landlines.
Exactly. They're very misrepresentative of the actual voter turnout that could happen because they are landlines with more elderly people. I mean, you look at the ages of the people.
I look at the polls as who is the mainstream media supporting.
Landlines too. That's not something that people usually mention. A lot of rich people are also landline.
True. That is true.
That too. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's big money. Yeah, that's true. That's probably why they do it.
Security system.
I was going to say they're definitely using a scalpel approach to get a certain answer that they're looking for.
Yep.
Okay.
That is.
So,
I mean, there were polls that showed Bernie behind by 30 points after he had already won Iowa, after he'd almost virtually tied Iowa with Hillary Clinton. You know, he didn't win, but he got like 49 points.
Oh, yeah.
Or something versus 49.6 or something like
that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, there were polls even after that showed him 16 points down, you know, in
right. And they said Trump was going to win. I mean, they said Hillary was going to win. Those polls are the only thing I look at the polls is, look, this is what the mainstream media wants. So as soon as they start saying that Joe's dropping, which is probably going to happen now, then they're going to say Elizabeth Warren is winning. But I want to talk about Elizabeth Warren and Tulsi Gabbard and Medicare for All as well.
Yes, I know it's a sad topic.
I love Tulsi Gabbard.
I love Tulsi Gabbard too
because I hate war. I hate war. Like that's
on foreign policy. Tulsi Gabbard is nearly perfect. I mean, other than maybe BDS.
I'm pretty sure she's been setting up to go after Elizabeth Warren on foreign policy in the next debate.
Good.
Ooh, that'll be nice.
Open for it. Man, I'm putting my eggs in that basket.
But what do you
sorry,
think? What do you think of Tulsi? Wait, what do you guys both? Everybody
doing? How is she doing?
She's not doing good at all.
I didn't think so. Okay.
No, she's not polling very high, but she's
want to quit.
On so many issues.
Like, I'm taking it to the convention.
That's right.
She said she's going out. Well, that's not good for Bernie.
Right. I know.
Those are all Bernie. No, most of those are Bernie votes. I would really be upset with her because one thing that bothers me is when she keeps saying, when I'm president. I'm like, that's the most irrational statement I've ever heard. You're polling at under 1%. What are you talking about? At this point,
we all know. At least be real with us. We all know what this is. You're being there for the progressive backup at this. I mean, and I'm a huge fan. Yeah.
How can you be backing up the progressives when you're like, whatever, on the biggest issue to
progressive?
No, how can you? Like.
So that's a good point. I'm worried about Tulsi. I'm worried about power getting to her head. I'm worried about she thinks she can win and she could take all these votes for Trump. And now she's also doesn't get Medicare for all. She's got too much of a capitalist mind.
Exactly. My biggest issue. This really broke my heart because Tulsi was like she's one of my top 10 favorite politicians of all time. And yeah, there's a couple of things that have been bothering me with Tulsi as of late. And one is the Medicare for all thing where she's been defending private insurance and she uses the right-wing talking points of like choice, which let me get to choice in a second. But and then, she also is defending like duplicate insurance for private, which is essentially fraud. and she's been making these right-wing arguments on against Medicare for all, or, against single payer anyway, and more in favor of a public option-ish. So public option-ish. And so the problem with her choice argument is that you're choosing between different mafias, different mafia organizations. And your choice is, do you want this private insurance which covers your kidneys, or do you want this private insurance which covers your liver? When Medicare for all covers both, it covers everything. And the fact that you're making this choice argument, it's utterly ridiculous, because people don't want a choice. They want a choice of their doctors and their hospitals. They don't want a choice of whether or not certain things are covered and certain things are not covered. Oh, I broke my leg, that's covered, but now I have cancer. Sad day for you. You go off and die because you didn't make the right choice.
Your choice is to pay what we want or go and die.
Yeah. And with
Medicare for all offers a choice
exactly.
of whatever doctor you want, and if it's not Medicare for all, you give the choice to the insurance companies of whatever doctor you want. It's so ridiculous. If you think about it, the American way is not to let people be a middleman. Come in here and take money from us for the doctors. I'm not into, I don't want to make the government a health. I would not be for Medicare for all if it was government health care. I would, but it's not.
And limitations to what you're allowed to do. And adding limitations is like and we pay them for it. Why do we pay them for it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Not only do we pay them for those limitations, but then we also have to pay, like after, you have your premiums, deductibles, and copays.
Yep. Those will all be gone under Medicare for all.
There's a month where insurance we can't even afford to use.
Yeah, I like that what you said too. I like that way you said, what did you say a minute ago? You said, oh shit, I lost it, but it was good.
Sorry. But anyway, the point is, not only would it get better quality care, better results, and better outcomes, it would also have the added benefit of covering every man, woman, and child in the entire country. I'm speaking of Medicare for all. And Medicare for all compared to our current for-profit private health insurance system, according to a study done by the University of Massachusetts Amherst, found that Medicare for all would actually save the American people $5.1 trillion over the next 10 years.
Yep,
and
that's
even
good study.
Probably more, because
probably more.
Because you have to keep in mind how much money is being wasted because we're waiting to go to the doctor until it's dire. And we're going
exactly. It would save the American people even more because they wouldn't be waiting until they absolutely have to go to the hospital when it's going to cost the most to treat them.
And then you go to the emergency room. Yeah, exactly. And it costs the most. And then those people don't pay anyways. Nobody pays the emergency room unless they already have a whole bunch of money.
Exactly. And in addition to that, even under the most conservative estimates, with a study that tried to discredit Medicare for all, as you probably most everybody knows at this point, the Marcana Institute study, which that was a Koch brothers funded right-wing study. The entire purpose of it was to discredit Medicare for all. And even that found that it would save Medicare for all would save the American people $2.1 trillion over the next 10 years. That's worst case
I gotta ask a question.
Scenario.
Okay, so how do we explain this? Because I've been on the Tulsi people are going crazy right now. Okay, and they're all trying. And look, I'm a Tulsi person. I like Tulsi. I'm not going to vote for a president because I'm going to vote for Bernie.
Vote for Bernie, but she was my second choice.
But how do we explain to these people? They don't understand. They keep thinking, because Tulsi is either confused or she's lying. I'm going to say it. I give her the benefit of the doubt, but she comes out and she's doing doublespeak. She says, Medicare for all. I don't have the exact quote here, but she's like, I'm in favor of Medicare for all, but I'm in favor of private insurance.
So
exact quote. You can't say that. That's double.
I 100%. I was actually debating a Tulsi Gabbard supporter the other day, and what it came down to was like, she needs to come out with her next statement on Medicare for all, and she needs to clear things up, or like, she needs, because what she's saying now are regurgitated right-wing talking points, and they don't make her position look good. And if she misspoke, then she needs to clear this up. Otherwise, I don't think I can support Tulsi with this kind of position.
Remember when they had to raise their hand? Everyone was supposed to raise their hand. And no, I'll let you go next. Remember during the debate, the second debate, they said, who's willing to get rid of private insurance?
Yeah, I remember.
You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. Tulsi didn't raise her hand. Tulsi has never, ever, I've been watching it the whole time. She's never said, I'm in favor of eliminating private insurance. She's never said it. Once.
She did an interview after the second debate where she said, this was a couple of weeks, I don't know, when was the second debate? She said, I think that taking away their choice to keep their private insurance is not a
With
very
Anderson
American
Cooper.
thing to do.
Yeah, she said un-American.
I was not surprised at all when she came out and said this. I'm surprised that they didn't catch it until now, that they've been trying.
Right, I caught it. I've known it the whole time, and everybody's like, no. I'm like, dude, she never has said it, because it's the clearest. This is this is how you catch them, because this is what you decide if you are progressive or not. Are you scared of socialism, or do you understand that that's a fear tactic? Do you understand that Medicare for all is not socialist? It's democratic socialism, and taking away private insurance is not an anti-capitalist thing. It's actually the best choice for the people.
Well, I think it is.
Calls his breakfast socialist when his eggs are overcooked. Like, they don't know what it means anymore. They say it for everything. Everything is socialist. Biden's socialist. Trump is socialist.
Biden's socialist.
They don't even know. They can say it all they want. It's lost all meaning. It's like, how many times have they said it this hour? They don't know what socialism is. They know that Bernie's saying it's something different. What they understand is free college, health care that you can use. That's why he appeals to independence. He says it in a way that people can understand. He doesn't throw out socialism is bad every 10 minutes to try to.
I would argue that many of the Medicare for all and
the argument they've got.
Tuition-free public college and universities I think they are socialism, but I wouldn't shy away from socialism label, because I completely support it, and it can be different things to different people.
I hate the labels. I say no ism.
I know.
I don't like capitalism, socialism. I'm trying not to use those words anymore, because there's no country that's a socialistic country, and there's no capitalist country. Almost every country is actually dictatorship these days.
Actually,
and they all have different parts of it.
I'm sorry. I do like this. They are different things to different people, and you should stop and hash those things out to see where your actual positions are. I think the labels more help you find a kind of a rough outline of where a person stands, as opposed to don't let that define the conversation.
No, but that it does. It's running the conversation these days,
But go ahead. Sorry.
So can I say something? So what the Tulsi supporters have been saying, I don't know if you've been catching it. But they're saying, okay, so someone came out and said, okay, what Tulsi is advocating for is a public option, right, where you can opt into your private whatever. And now what the Tulsi supporters are arguing for is that no, it's not a public option, it's a private option. But what that does is
that's a public option.
What is that?
Technically, it's a different thing, but what it does is it ignores how Medicare for all and single payer systems are actually designed, which is that all of the people in the system are in the same risk pool. The healthy people and the sick people, the rich people and the poor people, they're all in the same system. And so all of the risk is minimized as a group, because fewer people in that group, a smaller percentage of people get sick. And so
that's a great point.
System, as opposed to now, the current model is designed to maximize the most possible profit off of every single individual. So instead of being taxed as a group, we're taxed as an individual, and it's 3 or 4 times the rate of what it should be in a lot of cases. Especially when you end up paying like copays and deductibles and having like massive fees for surgeries and things like that. It's just an unmanageable cost. And having a private system or a public system or public option, creates a 2-tiered system in which the public option, aka Medicare for all, would be so severely underfunded that it would not take any priority. The people on the system would receive lower quality care and would be second choice for doctors. And on top of that, the system
2-tiered healthcare system.
Yeah, because it would only be made up out of sick and poor people, it would actually be unviable. It would not have enough funding, because there would be no people paying into that, and the only people would be costing tons of money because they're
so then so what happened was that's what Obama did, and then they had to charge that money. So they said, now we got to charge this extra money to everybody, the tax. And then the one was like, so the thing is, what they're saying, opt out is like, okay, we're gonna, first of all, it's single payer, right? That was good, Jocelyn. You explained it well. Single payer means one payer. You can't say, I'm gonna have a single payer, but we're gonna have some other payers too. That's what Tulsi's trying to say.
Under single,
you can't have a single payer with other payers. You have one payer, the government. That's how it works. If you're saying opt out, oh, if you're rich, you don't have to be part of society. Everyone has to take care of each other, except for the really rich people that can pay for their own. They don't have to help out.
The only time there should be a private insurance in single payer is when it's a supplemental private insurance with elective procedures. If you want to get a nose job or like something that's not like an immediate health, or not immediate, I'm sorry, anything that's not a significant health issue, you know?
Yeah, and now something up too. There's something really big that I loved about it, because I was really worried about Medicare for all, so I've studied it really pretty decently. And they even allow for like, okay, so you can get private insurance if a new medicine comes out. Like, let's say there's this new hippie type practice, you know, like Reiki or something. They allow Reiki actually, which is crazy, but Bernie's thing lets these in. But if they first come out, you can have private insurance on them until they tell the government will opt them in as an actual medical practice. But they actually take acupuncture and Reiki. Dude, no insurance takes acupuncture and Reiki right now, but this Medicare for all will.
That's great.
Hey guys, I'm gonna probably end up cutting out here in a minute.
All right.
I'm sorry.
About to die, and I don't have a place inside to charge.
No, let's wrap it up.
I live with other people, so.
No, that's great. We can wrap it up. This has been a good conversation.
Yeah.
No problem.
Do you have enough time for just one more thing I wanted to mention?
Let's do it.
I wanted to bring up one more thing with Tulsi. I don't like dunking on Tulsi too much, but you know, when you do wrong and you're a candidate for president, stuff has to come up. She went on Dave Rubin's show recently. I don't know if you guys saw this, where she did not push back on right-wing framing. So, and I don't mind you going on, you know, Bernie Sanders went on Fox News and things of that sort. I think that can be a very good way to reach an audience you wouldn't normally. But Tulsi Gabbard did not push against Dave Rubin's right-wing framing of like identity politics, for example, where he's like, identity politics makes the left like so much worse and it's terrible and it's awful and horrible. And there are establishment Democrats, you know, there's moments of the left that'll use it as weaponize identity politics to like, you know, deflect from actual criticisms. Like, oh, you can't call Hillary corrupt or else you're sexist. You can't call Pete Buttigieg this, or you're a homophobe, or, you know, you're racist for Obama if you call him corrupt.
I was called anti-LGB for being a Tulsi fan for a while.
Right, but like, but the thing is, so with that that's fine to go, yeah, you are right. There is some fringe of that on the left, and it needs to be addressed. But it's just as bad, if not worse, on the right. I mean, you have Ben Shapiro calling people like anti-Semitic for supporting BDS for humanitarian reasons. I'm sorry, Jocelyn or Erica. I'm sorry, I'm not letting you guys talk. I don't want to take everybody's time, so go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, you know, I think that one of the reasons that she's not pushing back about right-wing framing is, you know, Tulsi gets a lot of her support, and or you know, you can debate me on this. I think she gets a lot of her support from the Joe Rogan audience. You know,
she does.
When Bernie went on his show, you know, Joe Rogan brought up Tulsi Gabbard and said she's my favorite candidate. And you know what? A lot of guys who are really interested in foreign policy, you know, they're really interested in what's going on in the wars and everything, and that's a lot of men and women. They're interested in that anti-war message, and that's for
which is good.
And you know,
get that, at least get that out there. And you know, and so she's used to playing to that kind of audience, and I don't know that it even
she's playing to the independents.
Framing on it, because I imagine a lot of people have come at her with that kind of framing. So,
and that's right. A hard game. Yeah, I understand. I mean, and if Bernie did pick her up, and that was the plan, which is not looking like it so much. But if that was the plan, then she'd bring those votes, and it would. But she would have done it, you know. But
you should use those platforms to get those. I'm sorry. Go ahead. If you got
no. Sorry, no. Keep
going. Go ahead, Josh.
You should use those platforms to get people to sway people to your policy beliefs. I mean, Bernie Sanders went on the Joe Rogan podcast. Kyle Kalinske goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they don't bend.
She's trying to win, right? It's really hard, because if you imagine yourself.
So is Bernie.
But Bernie's not talking to the people she's talking to. They're talking to different crowds. And when you're talking to these crowds and you know who your followers, it actually turns into the followers make you say what you have to say. You get so many followers. Trump didn't make any of that shit up. Everything Trump says is what they told him, and he said, "Oh, this is what they like to hear." Like, we really develop these people.
I think
like Bernie, even his ideas weren't all his ideas. Some of them he's been preaching for 30 years.
Like, you know, some of the recent ones, like canceling all medical debt and student loan debt. Those are recent new ones that exactly. But that's a good listen. That's like an evolve on a position where you know you got to get there. And I wish Tulsi would be better on these issues, and it really is unfortunate, and it is disappointing, and it is heartbreaking to hear her say things like this.
A lot of people have been saying that she, you know, they've been wanting her for VP. I don't think that she's, I don't think that at least Bernie should pick anybody for VP who isn't 100% behind Medicare for all. You know, I support Turner for VP.
That's a litmus test for me, Medicare for all.
Well, then he's not he doesn't have a vice president.
Number one issue is what want to back the Senate, you know, or the House, you know.
He does. I know who he could pick. So who do you think he should pick for vice president?
Nina Turner.
Nina Turner.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And then Tulsi could be Secretary of Defense.
My phone's dying here, guys.
I'm sorry. I keep
wrapping up.
Cutting you off in the end. I apologize.
Hey, thank you guys. This is Adam, Erica, Jocelyn, and Joshua Hill, and we are TCSN Live. We're back. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night, same time. Peace out.
Hi guys. Thanks, Josh.
Peace.
Thanks, Jocelyn.